You're listening to the Sports Brothers podcast by Sam and Brian Dostal. Everything sports, all the time.
Think you're going, baby? Hey, I just met you, and this is crazy. But here's my number, so call me maybe. It's hard to look right at you, baby.
Hello and welcome to another episode of the Sports Brothers podcast, and it's two usual suspects, myself, my older brother, a 4-year older brother, Sam Dostler. I'm Brian Dostler, and it is Friday, June 6th, and it is 9:11 a.m. I think this is our earliest start of any of our podcasts today, Sam.
It's right up there for sure.
Today we got a bunch to talk about. We will discuss Game 1 of both the NBA and NHL Finals. We will also remember the great Don Zimmer that passed away this Wednesday. Can California Chrome win the Triple Crown? The New Britain Rockets are moving to Hartford. And at the end of the show, we will, of course, end with our Stump the Bro question. And before we get going here, the reason why we're going so early is because I got a busy day. Got a football tournament coming with some of my friends coming here at 11 o'clock. And then tonight is doubleheader in Waterbury. First non-zone games for the Senior Legion team.
You got a doubleheader tonight?
We do.
Really?
6 and 8 o'clock under the lights.
Municipal?
No, Bucks Hill.
Bucks Hill. Never heard of it.
All right, so Game 1 of the NBA Finals last night, and of course everyone is going to be talking about the air conditioner or lack thereof, as it was extremely warm in the AT&T Center in San Antonio. Spurs took Game 1 of the NBA Finals 110-95, and you know, Sam, like I said, it was the air conditioner. It was a huge effect on both sides, and LeBron James felt it the most. Yeah,
he certainly did. He got those leg cramps. That's what everybody's talking about this morning. And you could first see he was starting to get in with about 7.5 minutes left to go in the game. He went, took a quick breather, got stretched out, got iced out, came back into the game, and it looked like he was going to be okay because I think Diao was guarding him on the play. I can't remember 100%, but he made that explosive move, crossed over from left to right, got right to the rim on his first possession, offensive possession back in the game, laid it up without a problem. It looked like LeBron James, but when he landed, that's when his body seized up and he could never make it back in. And you know, you hate to say it, but it did have an effect on the outcome of that game.
Oh, without a doubt. Doris Burke, with about 6 minutes left, she came on the court and said it's over 90 degrees. By the end of the game, it was over 100 degrees Fahrenheit in AT&T Center. And, you know, LeBron haters are going to, you know, this is just adding more fuel to the fire for them, you know, saying that he couldn't come through. But, you know, obviously he wants to be out there with about 3.5 minutes left. He told, you know, he kind of gave head coach Eric Spoelstra the look that he wanted to go back in. But Spoelstra was like, there's no way you're going back in. He was frustrated. He was fuming because obviously, you know, he wants to be on the court. I mean, that is that is not the time to be on the bench with an injury of cramps. And, you know, it sounds like they are going to get the air conditioner all set for Game 2. Here is Rob Thorne, the NBA president of basketball operations, on the air conditioner.
Had the referees felt at any time, or had I felt at any time sitting at midcourt, I was sitting in the second row at midcourt, that the conditions on the court were such that the game should not be continued, then they would have come over and said something to me.
Rob Thorne, he was saying, you know, once the ball was up in the air, it was in the referee's hands to see if the game was too much to play.
And it's one of those things, and both coaches talked about it after the game. Each side was dealing with the same thing. They both were playing in the same heat, and when you think about it, the Spurs would, I think, hold a slight advantage if that happens, just because they play more guys. They rotate that bench in more. They play fewer minutes than most teams. Although LeBron, he wasn't up really that close to his average yet. He was only at about 33 minutes for the game. His average in the postseason has been just over 38 minutes, so he wasn't at his playoff average yet. He's obviously the most active guy on the floor. He's everywhere on both sides of the floor. Has to do so much for the Heat that it's something that it's not surprising. I don't think that he had the cramps because he's had them before in the postseason. But I think the severity of the cramps is what was so surprising.
Here's the big difference with LeBron. His averages in field goal distances. First half 5.2 feet, second half 17.4 feet, and that shows how tired and he was just settling for jumpers in the second half when he was more aggressive in the first half attacking the basket. And that's where he was getting the majority of his points. Tony Parker, he said the Heat didn't bother him because he said he felt like he was playing in Europe in the European Championship because I get hot gyms in Europe. But now let's talk about the game itself. And really, the Spurs, they came out rather cold. They had 4 turnovers in the first 4.5 minutes. The Heat only had 1. But Mario Chalmers, he picked up 2 fouls in the first quarter, as did Kawhi Leonard. But the Spurs, they were 4 for 7 from 3 in the first quarter, including Ginobili hit those back-to-back threes in less than a minute with 6 minutes left in the first quarter, excuse me. And the bench play for San Antonio, Sam, has really been a key for them all postseason.
It has. It's been a key for them all season long. They averaged 45 points in the regular season from their bench, and when you get a guy like Manu Ginobili who comes in, scores 11 points in the first half, hits his first 3 3-pointers in the game, you're gonna have a guy. You're gonna be deep off the bench, and they can do so many. You can run in a guy like Patty Mills who has the ability to knock down threes. Boris Diaw, he didn't score all that much in yesterday's game, but he comes off the bench and he gives you just 2 points on 1 of 5 shooting, but he grabs 10 rebounds and dishes out 6 assists, and that's just fantastic. And Diaw was a plus 30 in the game. I know it's not looked at as much as hockey, but a plus 30 is extremely significant for Diaw, and he came in and played 33 minutes off the bench. A key guy in yesterday's game off the bench, Marco Bellinelli, came in 9 points in the first half. I think they were all in the first half, playing in the stead of Kawhi Leonard, who got into early foul trouble. So they just have these guys who come in and they do their job. And just looking back to the Western Conference Final clinching game when Tony Parker went down with the ankle injury, right, Bri? The bench came in, Corey Joseph first. They rotated guys in and out, and they got it done in Game 6. I mean, they're just excellent off the bench.
And then in the third quarter, it was 54-49 halftime lead for the San Antonio Spurs. The Heat were down 58-49, but they wanted a 12-2 run to take a 62-60 lead, and that was ended on a LeBron James three-pointer in the left corner. And again, Chalmers picked up his 4th foul. He only played 12 minutes during this entire game, or he played 17. He never really got in a rhythm in this game, their starting point guard.
He's been struggling this whole postseason. He didn't play that well in the Indiana series, and he got off to a bad start in this series. They need him to be more of a factor, I think. You look at a guy like Cole off the bench, Norris Cole off the bench, who's a good player, but I think you don't want to overexpose a guy like him.
You don't want to rely on him to be your go-to.
He's not. He's your backup for a reason.
Yeah.
I mean, you got Chalmers starting. Chalmers has been through the fire with these guys. They certainly need to get more out of Chalmers.
And also in the third quarter, Rashard Lewis, he had 10 points on the day. 8 of them came in the third quarter. But the key stat here in the third quarter, Sam, was 9 turnovers for the Spurs in this quarter. And that led to Miami outscoring the Spurs 29-20. And it was a problem really all game. They had 22 in the game, and they were able to clean up in the fourth quarter, but 9 third-quarter turnovers.
And that's something that the Spurs don't do. They don't turn the basketball over. And Greg Popovich was saying after the game that he didn't see the turnovers when he was talking to the media, but he said, usually when we turn the ball over like that, we're going to lose the basketball game. And last night they were able to persevere and get the job done in obviously a huge win, taking a one-up lead in the series.
And now to the big fourth quarter. As much as we want to talk about LeBron James and his cramping, it was Danny Green that really led the Spurs to this victory. He had 13 points in the ball game. He had 11 that came in the last 6 minutes of the ball game. He had that stretch, Sam, where he hit 2 threes to retake the lead for the Spurs. And Tony Parker, he hit a 3 to make it 105-95 to make it at the time the biggest lead for the Spurs, and the Spurs was pouring out at the end.
They did. They went back to that. They always do it, but when they somehow get these open shots in the half court just with the ball movement, the touch pass is unbelievable, and that's what happened on 2 consecutive possessions when they did retake the lead on Danny Green 3-pointers. He just got wide open, and I remember he hit the first 3, and then I remember watching the play develop as he came free for the second 3, and there was no one within 5 feet of the guy. And that's just the ball movement, because the Heat are watching out for Danny Green because they know how lethal he can be, not only in this postseason, but they saw firsthand in the first 5 games of last year's NBA Finals, and no one within 5 feet of the guy, and when you give him that much room, he's going to knock it down.
The Spurs, they ended the game on a 31-9 run. 31-9 run to close out this game. They are 6 for 6 from 3 behind the arc in the fourth quarter alone, as they were 13 of 25 for the game, and they shot 58.8%, almost 60% for the entire game as a whole. And Sam, the Heat, they really need to. They can't let that happen, obviously. 60%.
No, they can't. And you look in. They were missing their defensive leader down the stretch, but at the same time, this Spurs team is just so efficient with the basketball. They went on spurts like that with LeBron James on the floor. They got themselves back into the game with LeBron James on the floor, and I think the Spurs team could have very easily have won. And we've gone this whole time without mentioning Tim Duncan. 21 points for Duncan, 10 rebounds on 9 of 10 shooting. The guy's still getting it done, but a huge night for him down in the low block.
Speaking of Tim Duncan, here were his thoughts after the game. Like you said, Sam, he certainly did play a well-efficient game, and this may, just speculation, may be his last finals. We'll see. Here is Manu Ginobili following the game.
I'm so proud of our team to have beaten them here. It's very hard to do in a playoff game with the talent they have and the crowd. It was a tough accomplishment, and we did it. But I think they are fantastic.
All right, so that does it for Game 1 of the NBA Finals. Game 2 will be played on Sunday in San Antonio. Tip-off is going to be at 8 o'clock, and the air conditioner is expected to be fixed. So hopefully, I mean, we don't want, us fans, we don't want to see that and, have heat be a factor like that in an arena like that. All right, now we move on to Stanley Cup Finals. New York Rangers versus the Los Angeles Kings. Game 1 was played on Wednesday night, and this was certainly a great game throughout. The Kings took the 3-2 win in overtime, as the Kings, they're in good shape. According to Numbers Never Live Twitter page, according to them, the team that wins Game 1 of the Stanley Cup Finals goes on to win the series 77% of the time. And they did, obviously, with the Game 1 victory. It was Kings' Justin Williams with the game-winning goal. Here are his thoughts after the game.
It's a great result of the hockey game for us, definitely, but we have a lot of things to clean up. Certainly not our best game by any standards, especially ours.
And Sam, it's our boy Justin Williams with the game-winning goal, the former Carolina Hurricane.
Our boy.
Our boy.
Why is he your boy?
I always liked him in NHL Live 06.
I don't know if he was really a former Carolina Hurricane.
Oh, maybe he was just on our team?
But he was just on our team. He was part of my speed line. He still is part of my speed line, actually, if I ever do play NHL 06 again. Let's take a look. Let's see we'll get back to this, but we'll see where Justin Williams, if he ever really did play for them or if we both just traded for him.
And Sam, this game was a great game throughout. The Rangers, they took a 2-1 lead after the first period. The Kings tied at 2-2. Then there was no scoring in the third period. There was a stretch in the third period in the last minute where both teams had a great opportunity to score the game-winning goal. but it wasn't until the first overtime where Justin Williams found the back of the net.
Yeah, obviously a great win for Los Angeles. First time a LA-New York Championship Series is being played in the four major sports since 1981 when the Dodgers defeated the Yankees in 6 games to win the 81 World Series. But I think this series is going to come down to the wire just like the NBA Finals is. Series never really starts till a team wins at home, so we'll see what happens in Game 2.
And another thing we're going to see in this series is great goaltending. Jonathan Quick, 27 shots on goal, 2 goals allowed with 25 saves. Henrik Lundqvist, 43 shots on goal, 3 goals allowed for 40 saves. and Lundqvist, I mean, he kept him in this game for as long as he could. I mean, at one point, the Kings outshot the Rangers 13-0 to start the third period. I mean, they had the Rangers won 11 minutes and 58 seconds without a shot on goal. And that's tough to win any game when you don't put a shot.
You have to get at least something on the net. You know, you can't go that long without getting any sort of offense. So we'll see if maybe the Rangers will change their attack or what'll happen as far as that goes.
Here is Rangers' Martin St. Louis. He is not discouraged about the Game 1 loss, but they're looking forward to Game 2.
I don't feel we gave it away. I mean, I thought we did a lot of good things, and we correct the mistakes and we get back at it. You know, it's one game.
So that's Game 1. The Kings take it 3-2 in overtime at home. Game 2 will be tomorrow night, 7 o'clock on NBC. So stay tuned for that one. That should be a good one. And now we move on to baseball and Don Zimmer, as he sadly passed away this Wednesday. He was 83 years old. Zimmer had been dealing with heart problems. So he had heart surgery this past mid-April. He has been in a rehab center since the surgery. And Sam, this is a guy that has spent 66 years in baseball, 13 years as a player, 11 years as a manager, and has coached many different teams or been a senior advisor for like the Rays he was the last 10 years. And, you know, baseball's missing one of the great ones.
Yeah, he's one of those guys he's a baseball lifer. You said the 66 years, and, you know, he has to be real. To us, he's the guy that got thrown down by Pedro Martinez when he was on the Yankees coaching staff. But he's obviously much more than that. Player, coach, manager, managed the Red Sox among many, many other teams, and he's a guy that's going to be missed throughout the game of baseball for sure.
This is a guy that played with Jackie Robinson, managed Carly Yastrzemski, and coached Derek Jeter. Now that's baseball for full circle when you're coaching or when you're playing, you know, managing whatever, those three legends.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, that stands for the 66 years, of course, that he's been in the game, and it's just remarkable to think that of all the players and all the great players that he's seen, coached, and had an influence on throughout their careers and throughout his lifetime. You know, when you talk about longevity in baseball, it pretty much go right now when Don Zimmer from a player manager standpoint. Of course, there's other guys that have been around a long time, Joe Torre, Tony La Russa, and then you think Vince Scully when you think broadcasters for guys who have been around for a long time. Not many guys can say that they coached Jackie Robinson and Derek Jeter, or played with Jackie Robinson and Coach Derek Jeter. So
he played with the Brooklyn Dodgers.
Yeah,
that's how far we go back
exactly.
with him. He will be known best for being Joe Torre's right-hand man during the Yankees dynasty years from when he was the coach from 1996 to 2003, and that was also Derek Jeter's rookie year, 1996. He's a two-time All-Star, a six-time World Champion, 4 as the coach with the Yankees, and 2 as a player with the Dodgers. He was the NL Manager of the year in 1989 with the Chicago Cubs, and he was on the original Mets team, something that a lot of people may not know.
Meet the Mets, step right up and greet the Mets. That's enough of my singing.
Okay, wow, our first solo from the Sports Brothers podcast.
Probably is the last.
Probably. And just baseball's missing one of the great ones. He's a genuine nice guy. I mean, if you need advice, he's certainly a guy that a lot of people go to. You know, if you know him, then you know, he always seems to put a smile on people's faces. He has that effect, and baseball will be certainly missing him Yankees manager Joe Girardi on Zimmer. Great baseball man, baseball lifer. He was mentor to me, and I had him 10 out of my first 11 years in the big leagues. So wherever he went, I went. I always thought he looked like my grandfather. Built a lot like him, same height, same forearms. My grandfather had a full head of white hair, though. That was probably the biggest difference. He taught me a lot about this game. Close friend, and I'm going to miss him. And that was Joe Girardi in a conference about the death of Don Zimmer. Now, Derek Jeter on the passing of Don Zimmer. It's a tough one to swallow. Everyone knows how much Zim's meant to our organization, but also to baseball as a whole, and our thoughts and prayers go out to his family. It's tough news, and I'll miss him. So rest in peace, Don Zimmer. Now to the Belmont Stakes, and it's a big one tomorrow, Sam, with California Chrome. He's trying to become the first horse in the last 36 years to win one of sports' most prestigious awards, the Triple Crown. He's trying to become the 12th in horse racing history to do so. And do you think he's going to do it?
I do. I think he is. He's won both of the first two legs of the Triple Crown, the Kentucky Derby and the Preakness, fairly easily. I mean, he was pushed a little bit, but he has great late speed. He's been really good down the final stretch, and I think that's really going to be an advantage to him on the longer track tomorrow, the longest of the three tracks. I think he's going to do it. I think it's time for a Triple Crown winner, and he's just looked so good in each of the first two legs. He's well rested now. He's had 3 weeks off. Remember, right after he won the Preakness, we had the issue, would he be able to wear the nasal strip?
The nasal strip.
Obviously, that was cleaned up pretty quickly
Good thing.
by the folks up at the Belmont Stakes and the New York Racing Association. They gave it a go-ahead for him to wear that nasal strip. He's going to wear it, and I think he's going to take care of business.
It is the 146th running of the Belmont Stakes in New York. The race is, as you mentioned, Sam, the longest of the three-legged races at 1.5 miles. And California Chrome is a 3-5 favorite to win the whole thing, and I, too, think he will get the Triple Crown. I mean, hey, why not? It's been 36 years.
Yeah, and the thing is, when it was happening, when it last happened in 1978, it was like the third in 5 years or something like that. So it was, who would have thought that 1978 would be the last year it would happen until who knows when, maybe tomorrow, maybe another 10 years from now, just because it had happened so frequently that it seemed like it was going to be something that was a regular occurrence, and here we are waiting to see if California Chrome can break that streak tomorrow, and I'm just hoping I can watch it. I got some high school, I think I'm going to be covering some high school baseball tomorrow, hoping I can not miss this 2 minutes.
And post time is going to be around 6:18-ish, I would assume. I haven't seen, but it's usually around
Around there.
that time. And you are listening to the Sports Brothers podcast with Brian and Sam Dossler. As we mentioned at the top of the hour, or not the hour, top of the show, today's going to be a busy day for myself with the wiffle ball tournament. And the doubleheader starts today. And we are not going to be talking about the French Open. It is the finals tomorrow and Sunday for that. But due to time, we'll get into that on Monday when both of the champions will be crowned. And our
Post time is actually 6:52.
Wow, that's late.
That's a very late post time, but that could be better for me.
That's fair. You need as much time as you can.
I do.
All right, so now this is our second to last segment, if you will, for the show, and Sam's going to feel very passionate about this. I am as well, but him more. We've been talking about the New Britain Rockcats, the AA affiliate for the Minnesota Twins.
For those of you who don't know, we live in Central Connecticut.
Yes.
So right next to this team,
Yeah,
the New Britain
I mean,
Rockcats.
this is hitting home. This is about 10 minutes away from us. They're moving from New Britain, Connecticut to Hartford, Connecticut for the 2016 season. The Rockcats' contract to stay in New Britain ends after the 2015 year. Numerous fans, including ourselves, are not happy with this sudden move to Hartford. And have at it, Sam.
It just, I don't think one city in Connecticut should take away from another city in Connecticut, and that's kind of what Hartford's doing, but at the same time it's not, because new owners have stepped in for the New Britain Rockcats. Josh Solomon leading the way for this new ownership group, and he never even really negotiated with the city of New Britain, where this team has been for,
Since 1983.
Since 1983. Right, their 31st season in New Britain, and they've had such a link to this city. They've grown in this city. They get great fans. They just had their largest attended homestand in the history of the team this past weekend. We're sitting here on June 5th, so the last weekend of May into the beginning of June. They had their best homestand ever. They've really been the standard bearer for attendance in minor league baseball. It's a great family place to take people. It's really easy to get to. And when you move to Hartford, excuse me, they're moving right off the highway. If you drive through Hartford and you go over the bridge onto I-91 North, going up towards Springfield, and you look to your left, you see where they're going to put this place. It's just an open lot now. I mean, the drawings look nice of what the stadium's going to be, but games start at what, 6:30? That's prime time Hartford traffic that you're going to be dealing with most nights, and it doesn't seem to make sense. And then the $60 million that they're using to build the stadium, it doesn't look like it's coming from state funds, because Governor Dan Malloy was talking about how he has no involvement with the deal or anything like that. But you're still using $60 million that I think could be used to something better, something like the XL Center. It needs to be upgraded. We need a new Civic Center building in Connecticut, and $60 million plus the $8 million or so that they're using to renovate the building this year. That makes upwards near $70 million. Maybe if you put it all together, over $70 million. That's money that you could use to start building a new civic center, and that's something that could revitalize the city. I don't see how a minor league ballpark over near the highway, not really near the restaurants, is going to revitalize the city. They estimate $8 million of annual income from this. I don't see how that's going to work, because they're saying they're going to get people to come stay at hotels. Why would people come? Who's coming from? It's not like you're going up to Boston and seeing a Red Sox game and then going out in Boston after the game and staying in a hotel. I mean, what are we going to drive 20? What are we going to do? Drive on a Friday night, go to a Rock Cats game, and then stay at the hotel next door? No, you're going to drive home.
Yeah, I mean, certainly I don't think...
And you're not getting anyone, sorry to cut you off, you're not getting someone from, say, I mean, maybe you'll get a few people, but Hartford isn't going to be a destination place for someone in, say, I don't know, Pennsylvania, New Jersey, wherever, to come. Oh, look, I love the Rockcats. We're going to drive up to Hartford and watch the Rockcats game, and then we'll go out in Hartford and stay the night in the hotel. No, that's not going to happen.
That's not going to happen. You're right. And, I mean, obviously we're big UConn fans here, and, you know, just coming off a national championship in both men's and women's basketball, you know, I think, you know, that if you're going to upgrade anything, if you're going to put millions and millions of dollars to the city of Hartford, you build it around a program that is, I mean, the Rockets are established, but a team, you know, the Rockets, they struggled the last few years.
It's not, minor league baseball isn't so much about, obviously, the team struggling. You're still going to get the people because it's family entertainment. Do we really care that the Rockets are struggling when we go to a game? No, it's cheap baseball 10 minutes up the road with guys who could very well, some of them could be in the major leagues the next day if the phone rings. But you should want to build it around, like, the University of Connecticut is obviously the biggest sporting thing in our state. They're on national TV, obviously. They're both basketball teams and they're football teams. If the football team ever gets good again, it's on national TV. But you look at a team like, or a school like Louisville, who just got into the ACC. UConn left back in the AAC, and you think Louisville, they just got a new civic center type, the KFC Yum Center, which of course we've never been to, but just looking at it on TV and listening to broadcasters talk about it and reading about it, seems like a gorgeous arena where they play their basketball games. They have a great baseball facility, a great football facility, and these are the type of things that if UConn wants to be safe, if moving forward with the changing college sport landscape, the state has to take a look at, because the XL Center is a dump, not a nice arena at all. It's run down. The concourses aren't very nice. If you're up at the top, you can't see a thing,
Can't see anything.
which is so out of date with the newer arenas where pretty much every seat is a good seat. You look at Gamble, and you got the ceiling falling apart. terrible setup as far as concourse goes. Just one bathroom for each gender, and the Rentschler Field. Don't even get me started on their football stadium.
All right, and I will say this: at least they were able to keep the Rockcats in Connecticut because there was a chance where
Yeah,
they
but
could
they
have
weren't
gone to
even looking into
Springfield.
Britain,
That
which is what really annoys me. The fact that they didn't even, the new owners didn't even really look into New Britain. The mayor of New Britain thought that they were trying to work with them to keep it in New Britain, but they weren't. They were working behind their back the whole time. It's really disappointing.
and quickly, Hartford signed a lease for 25 years to keep the Rockcats in Hartford, and I've been hearing some reports that already the Rockcats are looking for another team to play in New Britain Stadium. I mean, it's a very nice stadium. You don't want that place to go to waste.
No, it's a gorgeous stadium, so it'll definitely be interesting to see what happens as far as that goes.
All right, now it's time to Stump the Bro.
It's time to stump the bro.
Okay, Stump the Bro. I am leading 2-0 in our first two matches, if you will. And last time I went first, and now I'm going to ask the question first this time. So my question to you, Sam, is, and now I'm guessing if you get this question right, it's because you guessed. Which team was the only NBA team that defeated the Chicago Bulls twice during the 1995-1996 regular season when the Bulls won 72-10? Your choices are the Orlando Magic, the Indiana Pacers, or the Seattle Supersonics.
It is a guess, and I'm going to go with the Indiana Pacers.
You are correct.
Seattle was out because they only played them twice. Different
I
conference.
should have thought of that.
Orlando, I don't think they were maybe all right. Indiana with Reggie Miller, they were pretty good during those years. All right, on the board, baby. Let's go.
Hey, I figured, let's try a question that he'll guess at, and you're welcome.
Okay, bro. All right, your question. A couple weeks ago, Josh Beckett and Hyunjin Ryo. Josh Beckett threw the no-hitter. Hyunjin Ryo went 7 no-hit innings. Perfect innings. Before them, who were the last two pitchers to throw at least 7 no-hit innings? Starting pitchers to throw 7 no-hit innings on back-to-back days for the same team. Mark Burley and Jake Peavy in 2009. Randy Johnson and Kurt Schilling in 2003. Or Rich Harden and Barry Zito in 2005.
It's not Rich Harden, Barry Zito. Maybe it is. I don't remember the Rich Harden no-hitter. I do remember the Johnson and the Burley one. That's Dwayne Wise, right, with a catch in center field. I'm gonna go Rich Harden. Yes, I'm right. Whew. 'Cause I don't know. I
Just end the show.
I just you are really mad right now.
Just end the show.
So I have kept my two game lead. I'm up 3-1 on the air, and you are not happy. All right, so he wants to end the show. He's already walking up, and he's already going upstairs. He's gonna go cry in his room. All right, that's it for today's podcast. Thank you for listening to the Sports Brothers, and once again, please give us criticism, whatever to make us better. We want to become as good as possible with this. And thank you for those of you that have voted with our polls. I try to put that out there as much as possible. And, unfortunately, we can't see who it is that is voting. I know, Sam, you voted once on the Game 1 poll. But, thank you for that. We appreciate it. And, all right, now it's time to play some football and baseball. Have a wonderful day, everyone.